back to another episode of Play USA podcast. My name is Nick Garcia, senior reporter Play USA, and with me, as always, is Mr. Brant James, lead writer, Play USA. Brant, we're dressed up real nice. It's because something big is happening this weekend.
We're approaching the first Saturday in May, and every year that means the Kentucky Derby, one of the greatest events in American sports, one of the greatest races in the world, no matter if it's motors or people's feet or horses. It's just a great spectacle. It's everything that there is to do in sports. It's a rite of spring. It's the Derby.
It means that we both get to look semi-good. I still had to rock the White Sox hat because the Sox do play today the Crosstown Classic against the Chicago Cubs. But other than that, Kentucky Derby's here, which is always exciting. I mean, if you love betting on horses and love the state of Kentucky. I mean, I'm a big fan of the Derby because my idol, Hunter Thompson, wrote one of the best articles ever about the Kentucky Derby. So it always has a soft place in my heart. What about you? What do you like about it?
It's such an American institution. I was lucky enough to cover 6 of these many years ago. It was always the highlight of the year. It's a rite of passage. It's springtime, in most of in the world where it's not warm all the time. Flowers are out. It's a wonderful time of year. The folks are out in their finest hats and their finest dresses. They're drinking an incredible amount of bourbon. They're betting on the horses. The sky is blue. And it all just seems right. It's people don't ride around on horses anymore, but we still have the connection to horses.
Yeah.
That one weekend a year and the 2 weeks later in the Preakness to see if there's going to be a Triple Crown try. And if there is a chance at the Belmont, then it continues through. And sadly for the industry, it tails off badly the rest of the year. But for me, I've covered a lot of Indy 500s and a lot of Kentucky Derbies. And for me, those two were some of the most special sporting events of the year. American classics that everyone watches, no matter if they're into the sport normally or not.
Before we get into a little bit more of that, we do have a few updates on the gambling side of things. The newest member to the ranks of sports betting legalization is the state of Maine, which yesterday Governor Janet Mills signed a bill legalizing retail and mobile sports betting, but there is a bit of a catch. Mobile sports betting will only be allowed through tribal entities. There's 3 federally recognized tribes. They get access to mobile betting, while the retail-esque betting goes to commercial casinos and off-track betting sites. The 2 casinos in Maine are owned by Penn National Gaming and Churchill Downs. So that would be the big news, I would say, of the week. The start of May, I would say, is a big thing. But we do have a lot of financial stuff coming down the pipeline. We'll link a few stories down below. You know, it's that time of the year where companies start telling us how much money they make or how much money they lose. You know how it goes.
Absolutely. An educational moment there, because a lot of curious folks out there might go, well, hey, tribes, mobile gaming, sports betting, that's what Florida had, and that got taken away. But the difference there is the state passed a law outside of the compact to legalize it and allow the tribes to have that. The Florida situation was done with the deal with the tribes, not through the legislature. That was ratified later. Not to make anyone's nose bleed, but it was different. Nick, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's why that's happening different from Florida.
You are 100% correct. Completely different circumstances from Maine to Florida, but there's those tiny little webs, those little connections that are made. But speaking of Florida, you have a nice little interesting story to talk about, don't you?
There's always something interesting going on in Florida. The Governor Ron DeSantis versus Disney Corp battle has been interesting. It's mostly been a one-sided battle. Not to get too political, too social issue on it. Came down to different sides of opinion on the Don't Say Gay bill. Disney, the leadership there under pressure from the workforce, finally came out against it and vowed to help repeal. Governor DeSantis went on the attack. 2 gambling titans. They're not fighting over gambling now, but they've obviously been gambling juggernauts in the state. Governor DeSantis helped negotiate the compact with the Seminole Tribe of Florida that launched one glorious month of mobile sports betting in the state and then was shot out of the sky by the federal courts. And Disney, a couple years earlier, was an ally of the Seminole Tribe of Florida in funding an anti-gambling expansion bill to the tune of about $20 million because for each of their own selfish interests, they wanted to prevent the expansion. Disney, it's a small world after all. We're a family business. The Seminoles, we want to keep it all to ourselves. We have a monopoly.
Yeah.
But a couple of years down the line, they're talking about branding, licensing out ESPN to sports books. It's just a world full of selfish people, honestly.
Well, thank you for that little update. But I believe that the story I was alluding to had to deal with a certain cheeseburger. Is that right?
Oh, I did bury the news there. I'm sorry, I got all heavy on you. Yeah, well, I didn't want to promote it too heavy. All right, okay. Well, let's get to the meat of this. See what I did there. So on a bit of a junket, I have a son. He's right there. Actually, last week he made the pick for the commies in the draft, so you're familiar with him. Soccer player, soccer fan, huge fan of eating things. So we made a junket to the Hard Rock Casino Hotel in Tampa, and we wanted to try out the Lionel Messi burger, a really heavily promoed piece of meat stuck between some bread. And let's just show you real quick the promo that the Hard Rock sent out for this burger. It looks like it's going to be delicious. Okay, so that's what you're thinking when you go to get yourself this. I think it was $12.95 Messi burger. It's kind of funny how it's got a double meaning there. Anyway, so scene set: Hard Rock Cafe in the casino in Tampa. Me, my kid, sitting at a table. Here comes the burger. Burger goes near his mouth, and let's break down the experience. Let's roll it and put your napkin on. It's going to get. Yeah. Hi, we're at the Hard Rock Cafe in Tampa. This is my kid Sam. He likes soccer. And he likes cheeseburgers, so he's going to eat and review the Messi burger. All right, have at it. All right, what are your thoughts so far?
I mean, it's a burger. Nothing super special about it.
It doesn't taste like it touched greatness. Messy greatness. It does look very messy, but not in the way it's intended. Maybe that's just the way you eat.
It doesn't taste like prime Barcelona at any point.
But it's messy, but that's just the way you eat.
Yeah, sure. I'm not feeling any Argentinian magic each way.
Okay. Well, have more. See how it goes.
All right.
Are you getting the chorizo? There's supposedly some chorizo in there. We've got caramelized red onions. It's decorated with lettuce and provolone cheese and a secret Hard Rock sauce. Can you pick out what's in the secret Hard Rock sauce?
No, to be honest with you, this is like a burger from Applebee's.
This tastes like a burger at Applebee's.
Yeah. It's a normal burger you find in any place.
All right, keep eating. Maybe it'll change.
It's nothing better.
What are your thoughts on the artesian bun?
Reminds me of a bun that I see at work a lot.
Well, where do you work?
I work at a bowling alley. I help. I'm a food prep guy at the bowling alley.
All right, good info. Do you find that you have Lionel Messi highlights dancing through your head as you're eating this? Like, do the flavors remind you of any moments of his career? Like that last bite. If it was to remind you of one of his goals or a moment of his career, what would that last bite have reminded you of?
This last bite reminds me of his subpar career in PSG right now, where he's doing absolutely nothing and is out of the Champions League. That's what his burgers remind me of.
All right.
No prime Barcelona, no nothing. As of yet.
You're a tough one.
I mean, a burger is a burger. It's something you put on the grill and then eat. It's not something like, it shouldn't be this fancy thing.
Uh-huh.
A burger is just a burger. It's something you eat. I mean, it's not bad tasting. It's just like nothing super special about it.
So if you were to give that burger a name that was the equivalent of a soccer player, what burger would that be?
It's kind of like the Carlos Vela of burgers. Subpar burger in a subpar league. It's nothing too much.
Wow.
You know,
So you would definitely recommend the Messi burger to your friends?
yeah, it's not bad tasting. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just like a regular burger. Nothing special.
Would you consider it a deal at, what was it, $12.95? I mean, you're not paying for it, so I guess it is a deal, but...
Yeah. I mean, I can make a burger cheaper. But, I mean, it's a burger. It's a decent burger. I mean, like Casino, it's not bad. It's pretty good.
Okay.
Yeah. It's definitely filling, though. It is a lot to eat. You won't be touching your fries very much.
You seem to be touching
that
your
sauce
fries
is
a lot. Ah, there it is.
That sauce is good, though. That little secret stuff they say, that's pretty good. I do like that, yeah. They should have more of that on there. That sauce is good.
Okay, there you have it. Just another burger. Sauce is good. What player is that like?
Carlos Vela.
Yeah, that guy. All right. So, try the Messi burger, but apparently it's just like any other burger.
Bye, everyone.
Well, that's one person's take. Brant, did you give it a taste?
I did not, because honestly, after 17 years, I've learned not to get near my child's mouth when he's grinding on something. It looked okay, as he said. I mean,
Yeah.
Applebee's comment was a little harsh, but maybe you love Applebee's burgers. Maybe Messi needs to go back to the lab and try to figure out something better. He is he's a high level competitor. Maybe he needs to be a high level culinary artist. I don't know if he was actually involved in the formulation, but his name's on it, man.
I don't think there's a professional athlete out there that eats cheeseburgers, to my knowledge. I don't think Messi's ever tried a cheeseburger in his life. I know that I heard an anecdote from Ray Allen back in the day who said this was probably around 2011, 2012, and he said that he hadn't eaten a cheeseburger in over 5 or 6 years. Just,
Wow.
so.
Wow. Didn't the Red Sox get busted for eating fried chicken during a game? Was that John Lackey or so? That's
Yeah.
not a cheeseburger. I'm changing the subject, but
Yeah.
baseball players, different breed of cat.
Oh yeah, different breed. Except for Marshawn Lynch, who claims on the Peyton's places that he would have a little shot of Hennessy before every time he took the field. So everyone has their thing, but
You gotta keep take care of your chickens and your mentals. Love you, Marshawn.
But moving on to the spectator event of this episode, which is the Kentucky Derby, the standings or the poll gates where they were released.
The draw, the
post
position draw, where they're going to start.
Yeah. So, me being the non-expert bettor of the Kentucky Derby, I kind of base things off what the horse is named. So for my take for this is I'll just give you two of the names that I'm fascinated by for this Kentucky Derby. And that would be Cyberknife and how do you say Ethereal Road? Is that how am I pronouncing that correctly?
Ethereal? I would say
Road?
ethereal if someone was pointing an arrow at my face.
Ethereal Road.
I hope they wouldn't.
Cyberknife 20 to 1 odds and Ethereal Road 30 to 1 odds. So it's not like these guys are picked to win, but the name itself has me that I'll probably try to place a buck or two on these guys. What about you? What names are you liking?
Well, first of all, those are fine names, but I'm stunned that you didn't decide to go with the 6 horse. Nick couldn't possibly lose betting this horse. I mean, that name should have called to you. I might have made some or all of that up.
Yeah.
I tried to in the middle of the week when we find out if this horse gets hurt, because that's frustrating. You never want a horse to get hurt, but sometimes a horse, he steps on something or he doesn't sleep right, or they test for something. and a horse gets scratched. And it's frustrating to put all your mental eggs into that horse. And horses can get scratched right up to the end. I usually wait as we get closer to post time before I really try to look at the numbers and then get that wrong. I generally try to assess a name that I think is just worthy of that sort of that monarch
etched
name
history
that should
name.
be
Yeah.
Kentucky. And that said, there's been some real weirdo names at Giacomo.
Yeah.
Giacomo. But from this group, to me, the power name, the baller name is Epicenter. And he's 7-2, second favorite. And that's a trainer Steve Asmussen horse, still waiting to win one. Most successful active trainer, one of the most successful active trainers out there, if not the most. I've got to check my stats. The guy wins a lot. People forget that these trainers don't just train in these Triple Crown races. They are working 4 a.m. until whatever at night, all over the country with a massive stable full of horses, especially if you're good enough to have a horse in this race. So that would be big. Epicenter. A lot of people go by the names. Some people go by where they're from. It's fun to bet if your state's got one. I covered horse racing for a long time. I have such a spot for the roan, for that whitish, grayish kind. Those are just beautiful animals.
Yeah.
And so for me in this one, it's White Abarrio. It's a Florida bred, born in Kentucky. Apparently, one of those Daytona Beach things happened.
Yeah.
Bred in Florida, born in Kentucky. I don't know. I'm not asking any questions, but it was 3 years ago. Whatever happened.
Yeah.
A 10-1, not an outlandish bet. So right now, my affections are going toward White Abarrio.
So you mentioned earlier in the episode that you've covered a number of these, Kentucky Derbies, and I personally have not had the chance to cover one yet. I had an opportunity a couple of years back. Things didn't really align, and I wasn't able to make it. But give the listeners, what was one takeaway that you liked from actually being there and experiencing it? What was one of the fun things that
It's incredible, just the spectacle of it all. It's such a contrast in people are dressed like this, but in actual expensive clothes. It draws millionaires and billionaires from across the world who are used to spending money on companies and having their brilliance or their luck or their inheritance make life work for them. They buy a racehorse. They're told that this horse has great bloodlines. This horse is going to be a champion, and it hardly ever works out. And they can either be frustrated by it and leave, or they can keep pouring their money into it and hoping that it works. And one of the most interesting things, you see people in all these clothes and landing in private jets and drinking probably wonderfully expensive bourbon and champagne and eating incredible food in the suites that are all around this racetrack.
Yeah.
But many of them have no problem just getting down in the dirt and getting down in the mud. There were multiple times that I saw basically royalty, mostly ladies, taking off very expensive shoes, wearing very expensive outfits, walking through mud puddles filled with mud and other things to pat their racehorse that either they're a part of the entourage for or that their family owns before the race. And it's sort of, I've written about it in the past. I've talked about it. It's the connection to the agrarian roots, and I know what a hoity phrase that was. But really, we don't really do much with horses anymore. But we have a connection to this in this day when it mattered. Just like the Indy 500, we're increasingly far away from our dependence on cars. They're going to be electric soon. It's not part of the culture like it is. But both races are in May, and both mean something to our American and world brains.
It's always, it's one of those things. We've also written a bit about this on Play USA. We'll link some of the stories in the description below. But not even having to go into Kentucky, much like you said, regardless if you're a fan, you will turn on the TV for that 2-minute race or that 1-minute race and see what's going on. We actually wrote an article about how to throw an excellent Kentucky Derby party, and we'll put that in there. Lots of mint juleps, pocket squares, hovering around the TV for 1 minute, and then the rest of the time you're out drinking champagne, like you said.
Yeah. Those mint juleps, careful with those. Those things are strong.
They get deadly fast.
But just one more anecdote. A couple times leading up to the Derbies, I would always try to write the favorite, write the best story, and you'd find sort of that group of owners who bought a horse for nothing, and wow, this happened. But I was often able to get this special pin to walk with the Florida breds. And a couple of times I got to walk on the track from the barn
Nice.
to where to the paddock.
Mm-hmm.
And it was absolutely unbelievable to be stacked up under the decks. And it was like Gladiator, just stacked up and just seeing all these hats and bonnets and suits and people almost dropping drinks on you from high above. It literally, seriously breathtaking. Ruined 3 pairs of shoes in those mud puddles that I could think of, but I'd do it again. It was really an incredible sight.
Would you say an experienced reporter dresses, the part up top, but then they're wearing like the oldest shoes that they possibly have in the bottom? Like, is that the move?
I had the beat up shoes, and I would spray about an entire bottle of waterproofer on them before I went, and it still didn't work. And then the dirt would be falling out of those things.
Awesome. So coming up for you, we have a little treat. Our resident Kentucky Derby expert, Andrew Champagne. Brant, why don't you tell the listeners and viewers there what we tasked him to do?
Yes, Andrew is a frequent and talented handicapper. So I decided to get a little learned Kentucky Derby advice for me and for you. 50 years ago, next year, Secretariat established the record for the fastest ever Derby, 1 minute 59.4. That is blisteringly fast. Why Secretariat's name is probably one of the 2 most famous of all time, sort of the Mario Andretti. So ask someone, what's a horse? They say Secretariat. Anyway, Andrew has that amount of time to give you any knowledge that he wants to help you have a successful and bountiful financial derby. You can do a winner, Quinella boxes. I said, Andrew, go for it. Andrew was a sport about it. Let's take a listen to what Andrew's got for you.
Hi everybody, Andrew Champagne here from Playfecta.com, and I have been given the task to preview the 2022 Kentucky Derby in less than 1 minute 59 and 2/5 seconds. It's a field of 20, but I've got 2 horses in here that I really, really like. We'll first focus on number 3 Epicenter, the 7-2 second choice on the morning line. And all you have to do is take a look at the Louisiana Derby, which we're showing right now, to see why I really, really like this horse. So this is a runner that has a lot of early speed, but doesn't necessarily need the lead in order to run well. In the Louisiana Derby, he tipped out, he surged home, and he actually set a track record for the 1 3/16 distance at Fairgrounds. Joel Rosario rides for Steve Asmussen, and I think he is strictly the one to beat. The other horse that I'll be using on top is going to be a little bit of a price. I'll focus on number 6 Messier, who is, yes, named after the legendary hockey player. Messier was second in the Santa Anita Derby, but I don't think that race was the goal. This race was, and when Messier is at his best, he is very, very good. I think he'll be a bit bigger of a price at post time than he is on the morning line, and I think there's some value with this one. There's a couple of other horses to use underneath. I'll use the top 2 finishers from the Bluegrass a bit. That's Zandon and Smile Happy. I'll also dabble in some shares of Charge It, horse number 8 in the program, a very lightly raced horse, but one that has a lot of potential. Be sure to stay tuned to Playfecta for all of your news and updates leading up to the Run for the Roses this coming Saturday. I'm Andrew Champagne. Best of luck with all your wagers.
There you have it, 1 minute and 59 seconds with everything you probably needed to know about the Kentucky Derby. Brant, what are your final thoughts on this?
I'm thinking everyone should watch the Derby because it's the 2 minutes a year where horse racing really matters, and it deserves your attention. It's breathtaking. Pick a horse, have some fun, enjoy a mint julep.
Yeah.
Dress up like kind of like a little doof for no reason at all. Just walk around the house.
Yeah, it's going to be a good time. It's always a good time. We watch it here in this household, so I'm pretty excited. But with that, like, follow, subscribe. Let us know in the comments if you want to hear anything else regarding the gambling space, and we'll see you next week.